Good afternoon and welcome everyone to our January 28th, 2025, 2 o'clock Commissioners Consent Agenda meeting. Let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present. We have received written testimony for item 3P today. That is the only item that we have received written testimony for. And then we will go ahead and stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we will start off with the open public forum. We have 15 minutes set aside for open public forum. These are for anything that is not on our agenda today. And I will start with Susie Hokinson. Susie, are you ready to come up? Oh.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
I'm Susie Hokinson. Oh.
Golly, look how much time I'm wasting. I'm Susie Hokinson. I live just outside the city limits in the county. And I keep telling every people that you're all wonderful and that I love all of you. And I think all of you like me too, sort of. Anyway, it's so funny. I've been here before and you still get a little nervous when you do that. Especially, look at all the people I brought. Ha ha. But I do want to say that Marilyn is not here today because she and her husband are skiing in Austria for 3 weeks. And Jerry Leclerc's not here because he's on a 3-week road trip. And of course, I'm not going to talk about the land acknowledgement, but I hope you will seriously consider that. League of Women Voters, we're just starting a new state study on Indian treaty rights that I'm so excited about. And evening meetings. I was at another meeting this week telling them about to come. And they said, why aren't they in the evening? They really did. So I did go to the point and count, and I did 2 shelters, and it was really exciting. It was wonderful being there. And then I spent the day at Spokane Connect. I didn't get to see any of you there, but I didn't see everybody. But please think about coming. This year was the largest ever. There were 19,000 people, 126 booths, 180 volunteers, and I need to check on how many animals. I think there were at least 800. But it's more for us to go and be with them and see how wonderful it all is. And invite you to come to the lunar celebration on Saturday. That should be really wonderful. Look at how fast I am. And then I would like to bring attention to everyone that's here in support of with the detention services and mental health department. Would any of you that are here for that issue stand up, please? Thank you. They aren't all here for me, but I am getting the word out. And you guys are all wonderful. And I just tell people, you guys are working really well. And it really is fun to be here. And the first time I was a little nervous. Boy, look at that. Bye.
Thank you, Susie. So, I would, Susie's great, but I do have to ask that we refrain from clapping or any comments from the audience. So next we have Becky Dickerhoof.
Becky Dickerhoof, Spokane City. A false paradigm is when we accept something as true that doesn't really reflect reality. One of those most common false paradigms of homelessness is that the homeless have been shipped here by other cities or states or countries. The 2023 point in time, the survey of the homeless taken yearly, shows that the vast majority, 73% of those who identify as homeless, actually were last housed in Spokane. Another false paradigm we hear is that the homeless are all drug addicts. Again, research shows that 51% of those identified as unsheltered were not addicted to drugs. When you add all homeless, sheltered and unsheltered, 74% are not addicted to drugs. When you add, those are 2 of the most often used arguments people use who do not want to treat the homeless as human beings who have a right to housing. Finally, According to the U.S. Interagency on Homelessness 2019, states with the highest drug rates are often the lowest homeless rates. So what is the reason to criminalize homelessness? Because they did not grow up in Spokane? Because they have a 50-50 chance of being addicted to something? Why do we continue to treat the unsheltered as criminals when the three leading causes are lack of affordable housing, unemployment, and poverty? Number 4 for women is domestic abuse. Today, as I traveled 2 blocks of Maxwell, I saw 3 boarded up houses, houses that for some reason have been removed from our limited inventory. Throughout our county, houses sit abandoned while we spend our resources on herding those without shelter from one location to another. There must be a better strategy for this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have your written comments as well, Becky. So those are the only 2 people that I do have signed up for open public forum. We still have some more time, so if there's anyone in the audience that would like to testify for open public forum, you're welcome to come up at this time. And anyone online? Okay, third and final call for anyone wishing to speak at our open public forum. Seeing no one online and no one in the audience, I will close the open public forum. We are going to be taking item 3P separately today. So I will look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, move to approve item 2A and B and item 3A through O as presented on today's agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for items 2A and B and 3A through O on today's agenda. Is there any other comments on those? Commissioner Waldron.
I just wanted to comment on item 3J, which is acceptance of a grant award to support sidewalk improvements and a crosswalk with activated signals up on near Crestline and 57th. And this has been something that the community's really been calling for, families of kids who are going to the new Peppersack Middle School. So I just wanted to thank our Public Works Department for seeking out funding to put in better pedestrian infrastructure for our families and those using that area of our community. So just wanted to call that out as a great win, and hopefully those improvements will be going in the next year and a half. Thank you.
Commissioner French.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd also like to comment on 3N, like in November. This is a project that has been near and dear to my heart for many, many years. It's providing safe routes to school. It's providing sidewalks for the Snowden Elementary School. And I want to compliment Matt Zirikor and his team for working to bring this grant forward. And this project that is in real need for that community and that elementary school. And so I'm anxious to see construction and underway. And so thank you, Matt, and thank you for your team.
Okay, any other comments on items 2A and B or 3A through O? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That will take us to item 3P, which is in the matter of providing professional medical, dental, pharmacy, and behavioral health services for detention services. Yep, good.
Madam Chair, move to approve item 3P as presented on today's agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for item number 3P. Further discussion. Commissioner Waldron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to start by just saying that I really appreciate all the hard work of the staff to work on this new contract that's being presented with NavCare. It's a really tough issue because the costs of this contract is very large. I'm really concerned about a 55% increase to the cost of the services that are provided. And it looks like about a $5 million impact to our county general, just to our general fund budget. And I'm very concerned because we've been told by our budget office here at the county that we're expecting budget deficits in the next several years, and multi-million dollar deficits that we're going to have to manage to provide the services that the county, everyone in the county is looking for us to provide. So this contract is costly. I'm not sure how we're going to pay for it. We haven't budgeted for it in 2025, at least this large of an increase. It'll add to our budget challenges, and I'm also concerned about the potential impact to our behavioral health workers. So I've gone back and forth on this decision, but I know we need to balance at the county both risk and financial sustainability of our county and our budget. So I'm not going to support this item today for those reasons of cost and financial sustainability. Thank you.
Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to concur with the concerns expressed by Commissioner Waldriff. There's certainly a lot for the board to balance in this decision. I do recognize that. As the contract proposal stands today, my concern is also fiscal sustainability, budget impact. County budget's already very tight. We went through a lot of conversations last year about how we keep that budget balanced, and with this action, we'll be significantly over budget from what we projected just last month in the balanced budget that the board adopted in December. And if you look at just the general fund impact, the county's budget for our share of these important medical services and mental health services in the general fund is projected to increase from 7.64 million last year to 12.49, which is a 63% increase in that first year if you look at it in that way, with further increases expected in years 2 and 3. And I just question how our budget can absorb such increases, and we have some work to do on that front. I also share the concern about any potential impact for county employees in our jails mental health services department going forward. As the board knows, we have a really exceptional, dedicated, talented team of staff in that unit. And they've built relationships and partnerships throughout the criminal justice system over the years, including in juvenile detention, therapeutic courts, and many other places. And I just wanted to say that there's a legacy of really outstanding work and professional work there, life-saving work in many ways, and I just greatly appreciate all that they do for us. So with respect to the views of my fellow commissioners on this topic, I'm unable to support the item today.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay. I will call for the vote. All those in favor of item 3P on today's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2. That is then going to take us to our public hearing item number 4A on today's agenda, and we have Jonathan Smith and Doug Chase. I'm not sure who's coming up to present.
Good afternoon, commissioners.
Good afternoon,
If I
Doug.
can-
There
There we go. Okay, hopefully you can hear me. Doug Chase, Spokane County Parks, Rec, and Golf. We have a brief presentation that Jonathan Smith, our real estate and planning expert, has put together for you that he'll go through really quick. Jasper Coulter, our legal, who helped assist, is also here. And we look forward to providing an overview as part of the hearing.
Thank you.
We had the president.
We're going to get the PowerPoint up here soon. Okay. Do you have it? I have a copy. Do you have it in your email, Gina? Okay. Okay. Patience is virtue. There we go.
Great.
Very
Can you all
good.
hear me?
Yes, thank
Great.
you. Thank you.
So this is a request for an easement from a property owner on Fish Lake. Just well, where everybody knows where Fish Lake is. Michael and Teresa Morrow own a parcel on the southwest shore of Fish Lake. The parcel is 0.15 acres, so just over 1/10 of an acre. Large portion of this property is within the high water mark. So to orient you, you can see Fish Lake. You can see the enlargement there. APN 23051.9005 is the property we are talking about, and they are requesting an easement for access to this property. Mr. and Mrs. Morrow have requested an easement over park property that will allow them to access this property for personal use. The easement will extend from the Cheney Spokane Road to the Morrow's property. The county prosecutor's office and the Morrow's legal representative have prepared this easement for your consideration. The easement has been appraised by an MAI appraiser and has been valued at $16,500. If the board grants the Morrows this easement, they will be responsible for the maintenance of the easement and all improvements. The easement does not guarantee any right to future improvements on the Morrows property. Maybe next slide. To give you just a little bit of a visual, image 1 here is looking downslope to the east and towards the lake. You can see it's been developed just a little bit. Number 2 is looking up the easement, up the property line also of the adjacent property owner. Next slide, please. And then again, looking down the easement from the very top, image 1, you can see the easement going all the way down. And then number 2, looking at the bottom of the easement there, just to give you an idea of the area we're talking about. Next slide. And to give you just a little bit more understanding of the ordinary high water mark and where the property sits, you can see that we have elevations 2200 and 2800 is going, or 2180 is going through the parcel, and you can see where 2176 is the ordinary high water mark and what that leaves outside of the ordinary high water mark. With that, we can open it up to hearing.
Are there any questions from board members?
Sorry, I just wanted to confirm from your images. So the easement is across park property to the individual's private property.
Yes,
To
so
the-
if we go back to.
Could I just see that again?
If we go back, so you see Cheney Spokane Road there along the left side of the
Right.
image. The easement will actually extend all the way up to the Cheney Spokane Road. And then the red finger all the way down that's where the easement will be located, inside of that finger. And then that'll extend all the way down to the parcel there that's indicated with the text box. And if we go back 2 more slides, we can look at
So there's private property that kind of surrounds the park property.
there is on both sides.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that the future potential easement is in brown outlined there, or that's the
Ex-
park land. That's the park land, but that's where the easement would go.
Exactly. In the
Okay.
parkland. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I guess. So does the parcel go all the way down to the lake?
The park parcel. Or are you talking
Not the
about
park where the APN, the 23051.9, does that, so does that go all the way down?
It does go all the way down to the lake.
Okay, so they have lake access at this point.
They do have lake access. Yes.
Commissioner Kurtz.
Are there any limitations to improvements that they can make on the easement? I mean, I assume that desire is a driveway of some kind. Any limitations to the types of improvements they can do while building that?
Could probably have Doug address that.
Sure. My understanding is it would allow for access in utilities if they were able to obtain approvals from other agencies and permitting agencies. Even the improvements themselves to the access easement would need to go through the ordinary process and obtain approvals. There's no guarantee that they would be able to even bring that up to say a road standard or what have you. That all has to go through the permitting agencies and process other departments.
Okay, and then essentially that's what I was getting at. I mean, if the desire ended up being paving it kind of edge to edge of the property down, I mean, any type of limitations, to that effect. Because at the end, I mean, this is still a piece of property.
It would be, I don't know that we have limited the access improvements to it. Asphalt is certainly one form of a road improvement. I don't know that they have plans to invest that much versus gravel and bringing up to standard. But again, this would allow them the opportunity to pursue approval of that and any other uses that they may have in mind for their parcel down there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Waldron.
Thank you, Doug. So what would be some of the other agencies involved in those types of future potential decisions?
So I understand that, and again, they would work with our planning and building department for those next steps. From my visits with the planning department, it sounds like they would need to obtain a shoreline variance, as well as obtain approval from the Department of Ecology for certain improvements that they may be interested in completing on their property. I don't know, a portion of the easement improvements might require a shoreline exemption depending upon the location of them. Again,
And who does those? Is that through the county or through ecology or?
I believe it goes through a process before the county hearing examiner.
Okay.
And working through the county planning department. And I believe there's multiple agencies that would be contacted. Certain things may involve a JARPA, or I believe that's Joint Aquatic permit that involves multiple agencies. There,
So I was just trying to get at if the county would be the ultimate decider, but it sounds like there'd be other agencies that the county would have to, or it would be outside the county's purview because it would be the hearing examiner potentially that would make a decision about a,
I think it's a combination of satisfying county requirements and state requirements and
okay,
potentially federal for all I know. We're outside of
right.
our area of expertise.
Got it.
But we
We're just looking
have,
at the easement, but
yes.
that I'm just trying to understand down the road who the decision makers might be, just for my understanding.
And again, I think that can vary on what it is they wish to pursue in terms of use of their properties. So that can vary. And they've relayed different thoughts. And as I understand, the next step for them to be able to pursue that would be to have the easement that would allow them to take that next step in formally applying for these various permits that would look at whatever uses they have in mind for the site, along with and potentially including certain improvements in the easement itself
Okay, thank you.
to it.
Doug, a question for you. How often, I mean, because I haven't seen on park property where we're usually once it's park property, we don't allow easements back. So, because we had this discussion on some other property by a trailhead. And so I'm just curious, how often does this happen where we have park property and then we're allowing for an easement for private citizens?
We'll work with utility companies for easements. I would say very rarely with a private citizen. I will say Fish Lake has extremely unique history. When looking at Fish Lake relative to any other park in our park system, there was a significant history, I think dating back to the 50s, and I brought some prior to our acquisition of a lot of the parkland. There were easements that ran with the land that we inherited for a lot of the private residential lots that border the parkland that allow for docks. This is a very unique
Okay.
very unique property in terms of the parks, where we did quite a bit of research because it is unlike any other park site that we have in the park system in this history.
Okay.
So many of the easements, there were some easements, again, granted to residential lots to allow for a dock by the county back in 1969, 71, 79, and the most recent one, there was a license agreement issued in 97. And this is specific to a dock, not access.
Okay.
And these were for established residential lots. It was again about being able to provide a dock and on the county park property, which again is very rare. I don't know of other sites other than the Fish Lake Parkland where we have that scenario.
Okay.
And it was somewhat inherited in the main property, for example, dates back 55 years to 1969. The parcel that we're looking at in question was acquired in 1969. And there are a series of acquisitions out there. Oh, sorry, actually 1964, my mistake. The next one was 69. So we started acquiring properties that make up the Fish Lake Park as far back as 1964.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Doug before I open up for public comment? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing item, so I will open it up for public testimony. I do have, at this point, 9 people that have signed up for public testimony. So I will start with who I have at the top, and we will just work our way through. And you'll each have 3 minutes to speak. And we will start with Kathy Kraus.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Kraus. I live at 15107 South Cheney Spokane Road. Our property is on the west end of Fish Lake. My husband and I have lived on Fish Lake for 57 years. Our property sits above Mr. Morrow's parcel. My husband and I have always followed and required county and state codes with developing our properties. We love Fish Lake. Mr. Morrow walked across our property in the spring of 2022. He shared with me that he has inherited a parcel. This parcel is 0.15 acres. Half the parcel is underwater. During our conversation, Mr. Morrow shared his intentions for the property. He told me he has plans to fish, pitch a tent, and possibly have a dock. Months later, Mr. Morrow sends out a letter to the neighbors with full range plans of developing his property. He documented that he wants to bring utility to his property right on the water with the generator and power hookup for a park model home. All his development plans have no permits, not to mention he would be violating a county building and planning and state shoreline codes and protections rights along the water line. Mr. Morrow has already built an extensive dock, but over wetlands and water without an exemption or permit. Mr. Morrow's been driving vehicles down to the water line, across county parks and recreational land regularly, hauling down a trailer. During the past 2 years, Mr. Morrow has trespassed on our property, tore down a rock wall on our property, and anchored a cable into a historic 100-year-old Ritz cellar on our property. A professional surveyor has surveyed and marked our property. Not only has Mr. Morrow trespassed on our land, he continues to drive his vehicle on the Spokane County Parks and Recreation parcel with no access permit. Mr. Morrow has broken all codes by putting up a dock over water, besides no exemption, easement, or permit. He has demolished what we believe is several hundred square feet of habitat right along the shoreline. About half of this is on Parks and Recreation land. He continues to destroy so much wildlife protection for Fish Lake. For most upstanding individuals who acquire land wait for permits, but not Mr. Morrow. The last 2 years, he has been excessively clearing and protective areas. Mr. Morrow has access to his property from the public county park area. He used this access to bring over a houseboat this summer. Houseboat was tied into the shoreline for about 5.5 months with no permit or boat license. His letter to me and the Ebishes says he also, as I said, plans to put in a park model home. Mr. Morrow has only presented himself as lawless. He's very manipulative and condescending in his letters and communication.
Okay, Mrs. Kraus,
Yes.
thank you. Your 3 minutes is
Okay,
over.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next I have James Ebish.
Oh, hi. My name is James Ebish. I live at 15101 South Cheney Spokane Road. And Mr. Morrow's property is just immediately adjacent to our property. And we can't really see his property from our house because of the way the house is pulled back quite a ways from the lake. But so we weren't really too worried about anything, but I saw the announcement about the hearing here that was posted out there. And the access, and I went over and looked at the access route that was proposed. And there's a couple of problems with the access route. A significant part of that has a grade of 25%. I went out and measured it with an inclinometer I had. Excuse me. And if a vehicle had a problem with its brakes, or if it was slippery out there or something, when you get to the bottom of that 25% grade, you take an immediate right to go over to Mr. Morrow's, as it showed on that one map there. And if you don't make that corner, you go in the lake. So to me, that doesn't look like a really good access route. But if Spokane County should decide that it is a reasonable access route, I'd suggest someone from Morrow's family or whoever provide a substantial reclamation bond for any accidents on that parcel, as long as it's Spokane County land. They should be responsible for that. We don't want to hung on the taxpayers. And also some kind of bond for any kind of contamination on the shoreline or in the lake, because anytime you drive a vehicle somewhere, you're bound to get a leak of some kind. So I guess I didn't take enough time here, but that would be my two concerns, is the grade of the road there, or the access route, which kind of looks like maybe an old road. And then secondly, any kind of contamination, we need some kind of reclamation bond or cash surety bond or something to ensure that the county's not stuck with that. And county's basically the taxpayers. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Heidi Mealy.
I'll let my mother represent 15215 South Miley Lane, but I also live there. I'll represent parcels 23051.0202 through 04. The county zones Mr. Morrow's and your parcel as rural conservation to encourage low-impact use and to protect sensitive areas. Washington's Shoreline Act of 1978 restricts use and development within 200 feet of high water. One of you were asking Mr. Chase about what other department would this need to go through. It would be something like the Department of Ecology for that Shoreline Act. So driving on and parking on parts of your parcel that are within feet of the water line and a creek do go against both these county and state protections. Since 1956, my family has lived on the lake and witnessed nobody parking within feet of the water line, within feet, like is being done by Mr. Morrow. Even our county park users only bring a vehicle to the water line for a few minutes to unhook their small rowboats, and then they move their vehicles well away to the parking lot. An easement would also instigate developing your parcel for that driving on and parking on. Parks and Recreation was very surprised when I informed them that Mr. Morrow already has been driving on and parking on and clearing the park's land for about the last year and a half with no permission. A normal legal parcel, yes, would be recognized if this use or development was created prior to March 13th, 1978, the Shoreline Act date. But now the only acceptable use would be to hike down to fish, boat, kayak, swim, or use the lake, or to boat in and boat out from the county park in a small fishing boat, because Fish Lake is very small. Now, Mr. Morrow says that he intends to put a park model home in and has already moored in a houseboat for a more than 5.5-month span. I'm told something like that is only allowed 30 days. We put in a complaint about that. Nothing was done. It stayed there for months. There's no chance of any kind of sanitation development or septic development there. We fear human waste, gray water might be going into the lake. Where is that going from a houseboat or an RV? Now, building and planning tells me that Mr. Morrow's lot is undevelopable, and one must have a permanent home in order to receive an exemption to build a dock, a permanent home. The county is justified in denying access since these are not average parcels, and this activity is within just feet of the water line and a creek. We propose that he return this area to its original condition. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Janice Sandberg. And
I'm Janice Sandberg, and I live at 15101 South Cheney Spokane Road. James Abish is my husband. And I have some other concerns. Mr. Morrow's property is not landlocked. He's on the lake, and many people access the lake after the county closes that parking lot. By boat, they bring their paddle boards or their rowboats in or their kayaks and access the lake that way as well after the gates closed across the lake. But my concerns are that he has been driving vehicles down this easement, down this property for 2 years, and he's been told he couldn't do that, and parking them at the base of the, right by the lake. And he's not only removed vegetation in excess of what he is legally allowed to do on his land, but all the county property adjacent to his. And so he's shown no regard for what the regulations are or what the rules we all abide by. And so my concerns are by allowing him easier access, he will go way beyond this, as everybody has stated his certain objectives are. There's also a perennial spring that pops up right against, or right next to where vehicles drive down. And right now I had pictures, but I didn't know I couldn't bring them. But anyway, it's full right now and it goes down to the lake, doesn't go into the lake, I think, but it goes down to that area. So by more vehicles coming by or him improving the road, he could disrupt that spring, and wildlife use the spring. And that's another thing that we've seen less of because he's done this. We have moose, we have otter, we have all kinds of critters. And that's why we love living at the lake, because it's full of wonderful wildlife, and we just hate to see that change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Gary Jenner. I'm going to let you pronounce your last name. Jennered. Okay, thank you.
I would just like to say that I have been enjoying Fish Lake since the early 1970s. And it's a very pristine, beautiful place. And I would just ask you to please consider just keeping it that way and not allowing access and destruction of the shoreline, and let people enjoy what they have there. Just keep it real simple. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Harry Green.
Thank you very much. My name is Harry Green. May I please have a couple photos put up there that were already up there? They're not mine. They were already used as exhibits. The one that's the drawing of the waterfront with the
Yes.
road. And
Okay.
then also there was a photo that looked out across his property. Yes. If you look at the band right there of the brown, and then the photo looking out across his, he has torn up the wetlands. I've done major waterfront projects in Montana, in Idaho. I've worked with the Salish Kootenai tribe, the city of Polson, the Department of Lands, DEQ, EPA, city of Polson. And I've never seen anyone who's ever been able to just simply walk in and tear this out. And if you look at the photo looking out across it, you can see the cattails of all of this area right there, all that band right there. That's, and then there are photos of that before and after. And I have, all I know is this, is the one thing I've known in everything I've developed is you simply can't disrupt a wetlands, period. And he has, with blatant disregard for the other lake inhabitants, natural resources, etc. I've never seen such disrespect for neighbors, their rights, etc. But also within the Shoreline Management Act and setback, he's well within that. He has water over across on high water, etc. And so, and also there's that space, as well as then not connecting him also to the Cheney road. And so as others have spoken, he came in and he's done just basically what he's wanted to do, which has been totally illegal. Placement of a dock. I've built 2 major marinas. I dealt with the DEQ, Department of Environment, all of that to be able to do that. And so there's agencies, etc., but there's been none of that. And now the potential of rewarding him to be able to continue on his way to do whatever he wants to do. And so I would ask that this totally be declined. He can walk down there, but he cannot drive a car down there. And he's spoken to Ms. Kraus about placement of a major RV, et cetera. So to grant this is simply just for him to do whatever he feels like that's doing forward with blatant disregard. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Leslie King.
Thank you. I'm Leslie King. I moved my family to a home overlooking Fish Lake in 2013. We're at 14705 South Cheney Spokane Road. You can go back to the previous slide that shows the layout of the park. You know that Fish Lake is a jewel in the crown of the Spokane County Parks Program. The county park maintains great access at that top area for swimming, fishing, picnicking, paddleboarding, non-motorized boating via the boat launch. That's a low bank area there. On this, it would be like north, you know, the top. You can see his parcel in the white, in the blue dots there. As you know, it's 0.15 acre at the water's edge with boat-in access. It is an anomaly left over from the county purchasing and preserving all the lake shore around the lake, and that's in the green around there. Other property owners do not own actual lake shore. The county owns and administers the lake shore, the shoreline circumventing this lake. Mr. Morrow's postage stamp lot is impacted by the changing high water mark, as you've heard. Perhaps his land is 6,000 square feet or perhaps only 3,000 square feet, depending on the year. As you've heard, he's constructed a 25-foot aluminum ramp and railed walkway out over the water where he has moored a boatable houseboat structure. We do not know what becomes of his gray water and human waste at that structure. We are unaware of any approved permit for those structures. He refers to the ramp and the walkway as an ADA accessible ramp, and it may technically be that, but for all intents and purposes, it's effectively a dock. It remains. The boathouse has been moored, has taken out, the dock remains. Mr. Morrow, as you've heard, has driven his vehicles and his equipment down a county boundary to that parcel where he has cleared brush, moved earth, and installed metal traction grates for his vehicle. We are unaware of any approved permit for this access and work. You can go to those colored photos again, please. It appears this work has already turned the county boundary into an access road plus turnaround. And now, after the fact, we're here today because after the fact, he's requesting an easement on that boundary, marked in red. Let me stress again, after the fact. You can see the metal grating in that bottom right picture. How much time do I have? Oh, perfect. To neighbors, Mr. Morrow has proposed an electrical generator or utility lines and a park model RV. On the parcel. To neighbors, he has proposed a recreational facility for disabled veterans. This parcel, incidentally, will never be approved for septic as it is at the waterfront. Due to the size limitation and shoreline location of this parcel, we recommend no road easement. We recommend no structures, no shoreline modifications. We respectfully ask the county commissioners to leave this parcel as boat-in access. We ask the county to inspect the parcel to ensure Mr. Morrow ceases altering your property. Thank you.
I can't take any more questions or comments. So next I have Mary Kay Mealy.
I'm Mary Kay Miley, and I've lived at Fish Lake for 70 years, I guess. And it's always been a paradise. And it's wonderful to be able to just enjoy the lake, And it was a surprise when when a houseboat was brought in. Never saw this before around our lake. So we would like to just keep it nice and serene and helpful to many people, especially their paddle boards. They love that for this small lake. But just to keep the lake serene, we do not need any development along the shoreline. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Laura Johnston, sorry.
Hi there. I'm Laura Johnston. My husband and I own a house on Fish Lake, 14715 South Cheney, Spokane. And I'm here to support all the other homeowners and the people that used the lake. And the only thing that I'd like to add is, with all the fires that have been happening the last few years, the helicopters, it's important that the helicopters are able to grab the water and help in that way too. Sorry, I'm not much of a speaker, but we are concerned. My husband and I are both concerned, as well as the rest of them. So thank you.
Thank you. So that is all the notes that I have so far. Is there anyone else who would like? Yes. So, yes. So Jim Doty. Doty. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So I'm coming because, and you, if you don't mind putting that slide back up, I would love to reference it real quick. My family moved back to Spokane in '68, and I've been visiting Fish Lake every year since. It's just, it's a sweet part of my history for fishing and boating, etc. Something unique about Fish Lake is that it is no motors, right? It's super quiet. REI likes to take crews out there to try out new paddle boards and etc. It's a unique place, and that's great. None of that's necessarily relevant to development here, but it does give a good picture as to something unique about this environment out there. I did actually go out in the last week and was able to see what has been going on that everything pink that you see there, the Parks and Recs land, and was rather disturbed to see how much it had been disturbed, how much of the wildlife area, places where the quail and such habitat have been stripped to bare dirt. And I think you have pictures of some of that. I'm hoping that you've seen those. So this is a real concern for me. Also, the dock that has been placed, that is a footed dock, not a floating dock. No one on that lake has a footed dock. In other words, anchors into the ground where you're disturbing habitat and the base of the lake. And I have been informed, I've not been there, I've not seen the dock, but I've been told it's footed, and you can see on in the shallows that it does have feet going down. So the thing with me is that just really concerns me as far as if he is granted easement into that, what are we in store for then? Because all of this is without permit, to my knowledge. Everything I have seen, there's been no permit. And so putting in docks, tearing up habitat, modifying the road in, which is not a road, right? This is park and rec land. You can see in the picture in the bottom right, there's actually grading, steel grading that's been put down, probably because of what you're hearing about, that it's a steep grade. So we can say that's safety minded, but ultimately what we're saying is you're modifying something you don't even own. And so my concerns is for what's the future of Fish Lake, and are we setting precedents here that should not be set? This is not developable. I'm sure that's not a word. Not land that could be developed legally. And I would just ask that you be mindful of, one, the short track record we have of what's already happened at this property, and then what might be in store if you grant access. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I do have someone online. It looks like Philip Apple.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, and you will have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioners, most of the stuff I gave you in my written testimony has been spoke about, except I want to kind of point out a few other points. I lived in 15105 Cheney Spokane Road from 2014 to 2020. And during that time period, on that parcel down near the lake, we got to witness 2 calves being born by a moose family, a bull moose that resided on my property, and the cow and calf lived over on the other property. And you could watch them swim across the lake. You don't get to see that around here very often. We also had river otters that would come through and play in that area. Tremendous numbers of bullfrogs. You don't hear bullfrogs anymore since the construction started 2 years ago. And I visit friends along the lake on a regular basis. The other thing, during my time period I lived there was 2 springs when the water got up to the high water mark. There was problems on the exit of the lake. And so Mr. Morrow's current property would be fully underwater during those periods. It's not logical to put any structure down there when it's going to be completely underwater. And I just wanted to point that particular element out. The loss of the wildlife down there is really sad. They did, and during my time period, living in 15105, which is bordering on the opposite side of the Krause family of the county parkland. We watched the moose walk down the county park property. They go up on the hill to graze. Deer walk down that piece of property. And it was tremendous sitting on on my deck at the house, watching the wildlife go up and down that path. That hasn't been going on for the last 2 years. This is a tremendous loss to the peoples of the county, and I'd like to point that out. Giving him easement is rewarding bad behavior, and we should not be giving him easement. There's no way he can build anything down there. There's no septic management. He's been working down there all day long, and where is his bodily fluids going? We know they're going in the lake. He lived in his houseboat on the weekends. It went in the lake. So this is a man that doesn't care what the property lines are. He cut down several trees on the county property that were bordering that road, if we call it that he was driving up and down, because they were in his way. He didn't have permit to go and cut down county trees, yet he did so. And so you can see my written testimony, which is in conjunction and basically being repeated by all the other testimony today. But I just want to add in a few other points that were not covered by the others. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I do have somebody else online with the last name of Bradley.
Hi, it's Bradley Warren. I grew up spending a lot of time out on Fish Lake with my family, and I don't live on the lake, but I've used it many, many times. It's a tradition for our family to go out there in the spring and in the summertime. The last time I was out there, this last summer, I saw the houseboat, and for me, I was shocked by what I saw. I mean, yes, the destruction of the land along the shoreline is pretty significant, but what most surprised me was physically seeing the houseboat and the size of it. It was pretty significant. And for me, it sets precedent as to anyone can bring a houseboat out there and set up shop and stay permanently. Because to me, it looks like that's exactly what happened. As a passerby, someone who's not as toned in as the rest of the people speaking, it looked like a random person put a boat out there and decided to call it home. So for me, it sets precedent that that now can be allowed. That's what it looks like. And that would be my concern, is more people putting houseboats on that area, in that area and other parts of the lake, devaluing what it is, a beautiful, quiet place that I've grown to love so much, and it has so much meaning to our family. It's always been a safe place where we go and walk that back stretch, and there is beautiful nature. And I'm concerned to see what's evolving on the other side of the lake right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online or in the audience that would like to testify? You can come in. You have 3 minutes that you can come and speak. Yeah, if you just start when you.
My name is Michael Morrow. I'm the applicant for this property. I live at 12909 East Gibbs Road. I thank you very much for your time. In the last 3 years, I've worked with all the government agencies, Department of Ecology, permitting, code enforcement. over the last few minutes, I was surprised. I don't know any of these people other than the Ebishes and the Krauses. I don't know, never talked to anybody. But they obviously have an opinion about me, and whether it be conjecture, disingenuous, or outright lies, I don't have time to address every one. So what I would say to you, please, I don't know if you've been given it, but the only landowner that has an easement to access this road is Bill and Shelley Hansen. And they sent an email. I don't know if you've been given it, and supporting me and my support of them in maintaining this road and accessing the area. Bill and Shelley Hansen actually have the dock to the left of my property. The dock to the right is, I'm not sure, is it Kathy's or the Ebishes? At any rate, I want to thank the county staff and support from my neighbors for the easement. I've had 3 years here to get to this point. And having said that is, I've followed all the laws, all the rules. So if there was something illegal, the Department of Fish and Wildlife would have cited me. If there was something illegal, then code enforcement would have cited me. If there was something illegal that I did, then they would have trespassed me from the property, Spokane County. I've been working with Spokane County. And my ecologist is Sandra Collins. What happened is we did all the JARPAs, we did the SEPAs, we did multiple appraisals. We did multiple surveys in order to get through there because it was overgrown. And following all the laws and rules, and gave those all to Spokane County and building permits. 3 years to get to this meeting. And I understand that change is difficult, but this is private property. The houseboat is a pontoon boat. The houseboat is a pontoon boat. I graduate and work with the ADA. In the winters, I teach disabled children how to ski and take them to Special Olympics. In the summers, I take individuals to the lake and go fishing with disabilities. I'm a 100% disabled combat veteran. I have in my heart the ability to do peer-to-peer therapeutic recreation services, and that means just taking a buddy fishing. But he's in a wheelchair, and I can't get him down the road. So the Parks Department, that park is only open for 5 months. The Parks Department provides no ADA access for boaters. The Parks Department has built a fishing dock in the middle of the swimming area. So on the dock itself, you can't fish because people are swimming. So without a boat, you can't do that. There is no way to get an individual from the road onto the lake, into the boat and fishing. And that's with my private property. It's all I'm asking to do. They say I'm going to build something in the future. The land probably won't support a house. When we talk about leave no trace, what you pack in, you pack out. On my houseboat, I have a self-contained toilet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to testify? I'm seeing no one in the audience and no one online. Third and final call. With that, I will close the public testimony and I will look to my commissioners if there's any other questions or comments that they have. Commissioner Waldron.
I apologize, I didn't ask this of our park staff before, but on that slide that had the photos of the property, can you explain what's going on in photo 1 and 2? Just, I didn't get a chance to clarify that. Just what are those angles? And I apologize if you explained it and I missed it.
Okay, if I understand, and I'm looking at Jonathan, if I err, because he actually was kind enough to take these photos and put it together. So I think that's the direction that we're looking. If you were standing on the property, looking in the direction of the arrow, that's what you're looking at. Is that correct? And I'm not exactly sure what created the patterns there on the ground, say in photo number 2. Okay.
Previously done, it's been there for 10, 15 years. I didn't put any of that sand there.
So Mr. Morales, I'm sorry, I can't take testimony. I understand, but thank you.
Yeah, the last time I visited the site a couple of years ago, I think Jonathan's more recently visited it. At the time I visited the site, I don't recall the grates being in place. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. I think there's a lot, we've gotten a lot of testimony, a lot of comments, and there is some, I think, some questions still left to be had. So I'm going to look to my commissioners about potentially deferring.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would move that that we close the public hearing and we defer action on this matter to February 4th, which is a week from today, to our 2 o'clock consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing that we just had today, defer this action until February 4th at our 2 o'clock consent agenda meeting. So that way I think we all have a chance to ask more questions and get more information. I do want to let people know that we did receive over 17 items of testimony that we received written testimony on. So we did receive all of that. So thank you all very much for giving that, as well as then the testimony today. So I think that will give us a chance to ask further questions, understand the issue just even further based on all the testimony, and then we will make our decision next week on February 4th. So with that, that takes us to motion. Yeah, I know. Now we need a vote. Sorry, motion in a second. Is there any further discussion on it? Seeing none, all those in favor of deferring to February 4th, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So that then takes us to the end of our written agenda for today. Let's see, I believe we do have an executive session. So I'll look to Mr. Simmons or Mr. Folsom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One executive session item today. It was continued from our 9 o'clock session under RCW 4230-1101I. It's pending in potential litigation. It should take about 10 minutes, no action. I would like present CEO Scott Simmons, the board, DPA Devin Kurta, DPA Wes Zickow, and Budget Director Jeff McMorris.
Okay. No action. And how long are we going to be again? I'm sorry.
10 minutes, no action.
Okay.
I will also be present.
Very good. We appreciate that. Okay, so with that, we will go into executive session for 10 minutes. We'll clear the room and shut off the video. And I think everyone will be in the room that needs to be here. So thank you all very much for being here. Appreciate all the testimony and everybody coming down. And we will see you all next week.